awesome.
Oh no.
I'm the host now.
This is my world.
Still recording.
Jordan.
I am the host, but now I'm the host. I've never had this much power before.
Oh man. Drop out. I want to feel what it feels like.
You've been the host. You recorded our own thing. There they are. They're back.
Hello and welcome. We are recording you about Killjoy, Ohio. First off, introduce yourselves and tell us a little bit about yourselves, please.
Yeah, I'm Bridget Leek, and I'm a director, but also one of the other half of Queen City Flash, our theater company.
I'm Trey. I'm a playwright. We're married. We got 2 dogs.
You might hear them.
I'm Jordan. I work with Queen City Flash a lot. I'm an actor. It's cool.
What was the sort of story behind coming up with Killjoy?
Yeah, so Jordan and I did a play last summer, or we were in this play last summer. And so I knew going into this script that it was going to be the 2 of us again, because we hoodwinked her. And yeah, so then I was working on a story that was like an undersea adventure based on like a 60s children's book that's kind of like the future seen from the past.
I told Trey, I was like, your story is essentially like about being in quarantine. It's a boy trapped at the bottom of the ocean. We're all trapped in our homes. No one wants to see your quarantine play right now.
So then it was just like, we called Jordan, we're like, hey, we're doing something done different. We don't have a script yet. Do you still want to? Because if you say no, I'll write a one-person show. But if you say yes, I'm not going to do that.
So besides knowing that we wanted to work with Jordan, if she would let us, we didn't, and I knew Trey was going to be in it. There was no idea. There was no like.
There were like weeks of no idea.
Yeah, and Trey would like pitch things to me, and I'd be like, no.
So like the only thing that I knew going into it, like I just knew the rules. I just kept making up rules of like, well, we're doing it through Zoom because like Jordan's partner is a doctor, and like I can't get her fucking sick by being like, and it would just be irresponsible. It would be morally wrong to be like, well, what if
break quarantine?
What if we just rehearsed at my house but we washed our hands? So we knew it was Zoom, and I work in a school, so I have access to lots of lighting gear and lots of sound gear, and Jordan has like a really high quality microphone. So we knew like all those pieces were fitting together, and then I knew the play opened with us just showing you my office so that you're convinced that like we're doing it live in one take, and we're not in a theater. We're in like we're in a bedroom closet, you know. So it was just like I had all of those rules, and then I had been playing just on Zoom at night, like in my closet with the lights off, of like, oh, flashlights look fucking cool, and like you came up with the idea of using lighters, and then so just like
slowly.
So then it was just like, oh, it has to be a story that involves flashlights and handing props off and throwing a thing and catching a thing was like Peter Marino's idea, and so it was just like. It's not a story, but it was just like things that had to be in it. It sucks working with us in terms of like wanting to start rehearsals with the script.
Yeah.
I mean, it's nice when you get like 25 pages right off the bat. That was delightful.
Everything sucks about rehearsing online.
It takes, in terms of time, it takes twice the amount of time that it would if we were in person.
Including like the social that usually happens before like rehearsal, which doesn't happen as much in Zoom rehearsals. So you get like, there's a brief amount of like, hi, how are you? How are you doing? And then like you're done and then you log off and then you're alone.
Normally, after a normal rehearsal, we would just sort of decompress and talk about what happened and what's going on. Trey would be like, so how'd that rehearsal go? I was like, I don't care. I don't want to talk about it. I don't want to like re-examine it. Like, because it's like a like Zoom is like hyper intense, and my eyes, like when they talk about Zoom fatigue, it is very real, especially from a director's point of view, where you're constantly being like, does that look right? Are people going to like this? Which I feel like that was a voice that was much louder with this process than it has ever been just in a rehearsal hall.
Have you noticed that one of the things I feel like we've been arguing lately is digital theater is neither film nor theater. It is its own sort of monster creation. But one of the things we've been saying is the acting in Zoom kind of has to be as big as theater, but as small as film at the same time. Did you notice that, or how did you notice your acting was shaped by the Zoom?
I'll let the actors respond to that.
I'll listen to Jordan.
I mean, I thought that it was interesting because there's like in film and theater, by and large, you are acting to a person. Like I mean, I don't have any experience doing a whole lot of like CGI stuff, so I've never had that like you're acting at a tennis ball and pretending it's a dragon. So I mean, I guess maybe that is similar, but that you're acting at like a tiny camera, like making direct eye contact with the camera, which is very unusual in film. And so it is still a third level different than both of those things. And that you have this like flat screen, so you don't get that ebb and flow of energy that you get usually in film and always in theater between people too. So there's that extra level of challenge. And I think that like there was a degree of having to really rely on, like, for me, my own like instincts and my own things that I felt more like, I mean, obviously, you know, Bridget is a fantastic director, and like her direction about like, you know, like, hey, this acting is you're good. This acting, less of that, which is wonderful. But I think that there is also a degree of like being kind of alone in a lot of that, like, making these choices and being like, well, I guess that's the choice I've made. That feels like a good choice. It feels right in this moment. So I'm going to keep doing that. And then like, once it gets too big, like you can kind of see yourself and you're like, okay, no, that's all right. And so there's almost a degree of like, you can kind of direct yourself in that way too. You get that feedback right away, which you never get anywhere else either. So it's incredibly unique in that way, and like presents its own challenges there too.
And so for us, it was really important that it still feel as much like theater as possible. So doing it in one single take, you know, making sure that like, you know, we're just going to record it and see how it comes out. You know, that to me, that like excitement of like anything can go wrong and things did, that feels like theater.
Yeah. Because like, that's the other thing about like acting on Zoom is, to me, it feels like if you've ever had those performances where like you just have no energy, or your scene partner has no energy, and you're just having to like fake it like you're just running uphill. Because it's like, I'm in a room that is far too small for the amount of like vocal energy I'm putting into the world. And there's no scene partner there to keep your energy up. You're just having to stay really active for a camera in a room that's like far too hot and far too small. And it's also knowing somewhere in the back of your mind that there is a latency, just as the internet, at the time it takes for my voice to get to her screen. So you're also trying to like just stay on top of your words, because otherwise you're allowing the internet to put time into your story for you. And so it's like, it feels like you're just fighting, like there's no one, like you're just holding,
uplifting you.
Yeah, you're holding yourself up. You know?
That was like one of my first rules in the rehearsal room was like no sitting. Like you have to be standing at your sort of like station that you had created. Again, just to keep the energy up, because the minute you sit, that all of that just drains. Well, it was a very steep learning curve. And also, like as a director, you're always just trying to find really interesting stage pictures, which is so hard to do when you don't have actors in the same room together. And so it's like, okay, what can we do? How can we make this moment interesting? How can this look different than the previous look we were just in? Besides just like lights and sound, but like really, how can we make it just feel
This
different?
play has to have some level of spectacle to it, because we are asking you to sit for an hour when you could be watching like a TV show that $1 million was spent to make it look great. Like, so like we had these weird water lights from a show that my school did like a number of years ago. And I was just like, fuck you, that's cheap. And so like whatever play we're doing, this is in the climax because it's the coolest thing we have. And I just happened to have 2 yearbooks from the 90s that I like just cited them as a punchline that's visual rather than just language based. But like, what a dumb fucking way to write a story too.
Hey guys, if you like what we just did, there's going to be plenty more coming up. Please like, comment, subscribe. Our Venmo is in the description. Please support us if you can. Our cats need the money.